Welcome to this special episode of Daily Dose of Aramaic, where we begin looking at the Aramaic of Ezra, which begins at Ezra 4:8. Let's look at the Leningrad Codex. We see at the top, the first two lines are the end of the Hebrew. That's Ezra 4:7, and it reads, "And the text of the letter was written in Aramaic," that's Aramite, and translated from Aramaic. And then on the third line, Rahum, that begins the Aramaic section. Now let's look at this passage in some academic Hebrew Bibles. Here's Biblia Hebraica Kittel, which is the version that came before the familiar Stuttgartensia. We notice here is the paragraph division between the Hebrew and the Aramaic. Let's look at the bottom. Here we have an editor's note for two of the words in verse 8. We're used to this kind of thing because of our experience with the BHS. And in fact, here's the BHS. It's commenting on a different word, just saying, read this as the beginning of the word that the superscript A was on. Now, I show all this to introduce us to a relatively new resource, and that's the BHQ, Biblia Hebraica Quinta, which is the new edition of the Hebrew Bible that's underway. The Faxicle for Ezra and Nehemiah exists. It's been published. It's prepared by David Marcus. And you see there's that paragraph division there at the beginning of verse 8. But you also notice there is a lot more in terms of notes on the bottom of the page. So let's take a look at it. One of the first things we notice is that David Marcus has provided this parallel text information. So Ezra 4:8 is part of the text that has a parallel in 1 Esdras 2:15 to 16. So that's good to know. We could compare with the Septuagint text at that point. Let's go down now to verse 8. And we immediately notice, in fact, that there are more notes, but also that the meta-language here has switched from Latin to English. So English abbreviations that we can look up then in the BHQ to know exactly what the editors are trying to tell us. And they are referring to the various versions and information from the versions, as well as other Masoretic text sources. So this is going to be a really valuable resource for us as we work our way through Biblical Aramaic Ezra. So let's go to where it begins at Ezra 4:8.